Hey guys, and welcome to Data Driven Value, where we show you the tools and teach you the skills to help you take your financial freedom into your own hands. So today we're going to do a little bit of a kind of a weekly recap, take a look at a couple charts. We're not going to get too crazy. We will have time over the weekend to kind of make a plan for the next week. You guys know my thoughts. I don't like to really trade too much on the weekend. It's time to just sit back, figure out your plan, maybe learn a little bit, reset, get ready for the next week, and then when the markets open again on Monday, that's when we're really going to kind of dive back into the charts, try to figure out what's going on. But we're just going to cover some news, take a look at some charts, and then just general thoughts on different assets as we go through this update. So looking right here, we see US spot Bitcoin and Ethereum ETF outflows. We did see significant outflows from the spot Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs. Bitcoin ETFs net outflow is approximately 365 million, and the Ethereum ETFs recorded a net outflow of about $13 million. So these movements kind of show a shift in sentiment around the ETFs. Previously, we've been seeing massive inflows into the ETFs, so it is important to note when we start to see substantial outflows, it could signal that early investors are taking profits. We do see, though, that the Bitcoin ETFs have cumulative inflows of 39.67 billion over 278 days. So even though they sold 365 million worth of the ETF, it's still $39.6 billion in this fund, so still a massive amount of money. Not surprised to see people taking profit, because a lot of these ETF buyers got in when the price was about $40,000 to $45,000 per Bitcoin, so they're well up over 2x in terms of their investment. So taking profits not unheard of at that kind of level there. The Ethereum ETFs have a 3.18 billion over 146 days. So obviously the Bitcoin ETFs garnishing a lot more attention, a lot more adoption than the Ethereum ETFs. That being said, there is something going around now. A lot of these ETH ETFs are applying to have staking rewards added to their ETFs. So essentially, with Ethereum, you're able to stake your Ethereum and earn APY. So they'll pay you about, between 3 and 4% APY per year paid back in Ethereum if you're a staker. So it would be interesting to see if these ETH ETFs can include a staking and kind of yield payout component. So even if you're not getting paid back in Ethereum, if you're getting paid a dividend from the ETH ETF, it's going to be very attractive, especially to institutional investors. They want to increase their capital as much as possible, but they want exposure to kind of the more speculative assets as well, such as Ethereum. Ethereum is kind of that one that's the big. It's right behind Bitcoin. It's big enough to garnish enough institutional adoption while still offering that more of a relative safety net compared to some of the other newer crypto assets. So it will be interesting if we get staking in the Ethereum ETFs. Maybe there'll be a bigger influx of institutional money looking to really capitalize on the price appreciation of Ethereum, as well as the yield or dividend paid out on that ETF if we do get acceptance on that from the SEC. Right now, the SEC has just acknowledged that these companies are asking for staking, so we'll see what goes on as time passes. But flipping over here, just to get a visualization of kind of the net inflows and outflows of the Bitcoin ETF, you can kind of see every time we experience these major outflows, we go in these little dips here. So right through here, we had a little dip. We had that little dip right through here. Same thing right through here, and look, we are in this period of outflows right through here. So maybe that's just this dip right here that we're currently in. Hopefully we can hold these lows and reverse our structure, continue to the upside, put in new highs. That's the ideal kind of price action if you're currently exposed to the market. But we'll take a look at the chart later. So we look here, this is the US dollar inflows to Binance. So Binance is one of the biggest crypto exchanges, so this is a good tool we can look at. When we see large inflows into the exchanges in terms of US dollars, lots of the times we see pretty good price increases as well, because they're putting money into the exchange so they can buy assets. So when you see a large inflow of US dollars, you can expect that there might be potential buying pressure coming in. And then same thing on the opposite side, when you see these outflows, we could signal that people are selling their assets, taking their profits, and moving those off the exchanges. So we see here for the last about week, we're just in the inflow. So we came down here, nice little inflows here, and then a decent little uptick right here of $560 million inflow on February 20th. That was that large correction, kind of right after that large correction driven by the tariff scares. So we did see there US dollar inflows, good good thing to keep in mind. But yeah, so we do see a lot of US dollar coming onto the exchange, not much outflowing, so it does signal to me that there was that potential that we saw some buying pressure. So we flip over to Bitcoin here, and let's take a look back here. So I'll show you this one here on February 3rd and February 4th, the massive inflow. So I've marked that over here. This is February 3rd. That pretty much marked this low rate here, and if you were to buy this, that's a nice little 13% swing right there, just and then coincides perfectly with the inflows over here. You can also see February 16th, 17th is when we started to see some more inflows over there. So we see right here February 18th, so right after those inflows, that was the low again. We actually, if you're in my Telegram group, we took a swing long on Bitcoin, targeting around 94,000 as that initial entry. We are out of it in profits, so that was a nice little swing trade, just playing the range as I've kind of told you guys before. We are doing pretty well here. We're in this uptrend structure on the low time frame here on the hourly. We're just breaching above that 50-day moving average. We're holding above the point of control in terms of our VRVP. Our momentum indicators are looking good. It looks like the RSI could come back down a bit, but MACD has room to continue moving up. We're getting a little volume uptick rate here, and our DMI looks okay for now. So in terms of the low time frame, Bitcoin can continue just pushing up a little bit. Ideally, yeah, we need to hold these lows. You guys know my thoughts about uptrend structure, higher highs, higher lows. If we lose 98,000, then we just kind of risk that uptrend structure we've just built. We want to hold these lows, continue higher, hold this 50-day as support, and then we can kind of take a look at the higher time frame. We see our momentum indicators. See right here, this is supporting a better macro move up. So bullish cross, and this is definitely some more bullish momentum heading up here. We want to see the blue line crossing with the orange line, but it does look good for Bitcoin. If we can break out of here, hold this as support, then I think we're doing really good. We're still above that 50-day and 200-day moving average, so looking really good in terms of trend for Bitcoin. So just watching that, making sure we hold that low time frame structure before getting too aggressive on anything. We're going to flip over, not here, we're going to flip over to here. So we're going to talk a little bit about just some macro now. I want to talk about the Federal Reserve. There are some risks of higher inflation supporting that pause in rate cuts. We've talked about this. We're not expecting major rate cuts going forward. They might be delayed, if not even postponed, for quite a while. It's really going to depend what the economic data says and kind of what happens in terms of global trade war escalations. So we've talked lots about tariffs and whatnot. They're still in the back of everyone's mind. There's a lot of uncertainty in the markets right now. I'm going to get into that right through here. They do kind of explain it pretty well. So we do see the Fed is warning that rising risks of inflation could worsen. So they're keeping their benchmark interest rate unchanged. We expected that. We also have the Bank of Japan that's raised rates, and they've signaled that they're likely to continue raising rates. So that's another thing. It is going to impact global economic markets if the Bank of Japan continues raising rates. It's not going to be bullish for our risk on assets because it might cause more unwinding of that Japan yen carry trade that we've talked about in the past. So it's another thing. We're aware of it, but we're not investing based on that kind of speculative news there. So just continuing on, President Trump's proposed tariffs and mass deportations of migrants, as well as strong consumer spending, they're factors that they think could push inflation higher this year. We talked about that uptick in inflation expectations previously. So we want to see further progress on inflation before making any further cuts. That's what I've been saying. Everyone who says that the Fed is just ready to cut, rate cuts are coming, quantitative easing is coming, quantitative tightening is ending. The Fed is signaling the exact opposite. They keep saying higher for longer. They aren't going to cut rates if the numbers do not make sense. So employment doesn't justify them cutting rates. Inflation doesn't justify them cutting rates. So I just believe they're going to stand in their kind of stance there, not really change much. They might, as I said, have one rate cut kind of before the end of the year. We're looking kind of a summer timeline. Some people are saying June. Some Wall Street officials or Wall Street analysts are saying July. It's anyone's guess. There might not even be a rate cut this year if the numbers support that. So we do see the Fed's pause making it less likely that borrowing costs for consumers, for mortgages, auto loans, and credit cards will decline anytime soon. So the higher interest rates are, the higher your interest rates are on all of your loans. So your mortgages, your car loans, your credit cards. And we did see kind of raising mortgage delinquencies and credit card delinquencies in the US. They are kind of tapering off a little bit, but that being said, if credit card rates aren't going to continue declining for kind of the foreseeable future, then we might start to see those delinquencies uptick again, especially if inflation creeps back into the mix there, because inflation is going to raise the costs for the consumers, and then that's going to increase their debt, and they're not going to be able to make those payments, resulting in the delinquencies. So another important thing to pay attention to, we saw consumer prices rose 3% in January from a year ago, up from the 3.5-year low of 2.4% last September. So all stuff that we are aware of, but we just want to keep it in the backs of our minds because they are important economic factors. So we'll take a look over here at our macro. Let's take a look at the SPY. So we'll flip to the very low time frame first, just starting off nice and low. So we are here right into this. It's kind of a resistance slash support zone right through here. We haven't broken through it, so right now it is technically resistance, just with this structure here. So we want to see that uptrend structure form. You know, I talk about that higher highs, higher lows. Our momentum indicators are looking really good. The DMI here, this is a really bullish setup here for the DMI, getting above the 80x and that minus line right there. We want to see that RSI come up, get that bullish cross. The red histogram kind of losing strength here. We did have a little bit of buying, but you know, nothing substantial in terms of buying pressure right through here. But momentum indicators looking good on the hourly. Just as long as we hold these lows right here, then we can continue trying to break out of this resistance zone right through here, and we want to hold it as support. So yeah, looking for that kind of price action to come up here. Ideally, we can break these highs, come in, put in a higher low. That's a nice entry right there from support, and then we're off riding that to new highs. Otherwise, you guys know we can just ultimately break down, back test, and lose these lower levels. So no man's land still in the SPY. A lot of uncertainty around the markets. We did have different earnings results from the Magnificent Seven stocks that I talked about the past week. So different, we saw Walmart kind of showing weaker forward guidance. A lot of these companies, they showed strong kind of earnings for the last quarter, but they're showing a little bit weaker guidance going forward, kind of reflecting that weakness in the economy overall. So something we want to pay attention to. We want to make sure we're not taking excessive risk with our stock market at all-time highs. We're waiting for that confirmation, that price action that we want to see, and then we're getting in when it makes sense. But for now, we're just into resistance right here on the low time frame. We'll flip over to the slightly higher time frame, so the daily, to get a little bit better idea of what's going on. So this is a bit more of a bearish setup, you guys. We see here, we talked about kind of that bearish-ish candle right up there. We are kind of curling back over on our MACD. We did get that lower high. So this is that bearish divergence that I talk about, that lower high on the oscillator or the indicator, and the higher high on the price action here. So slight bearish divergence on the daily, losing momentum in terms of all of our momentum indicators here. Looks like the DMI minus line is going to break above the DMI positive line. Not looking good in terms of a daily move. So we'll see what happens. We definitely need that low time frame breakout if we're going to hope to continue to new highs. Otherwise, then this could ultimately break down. We'll see what happens there. Looking at the dollar, we'll take a look at the dollar. It is bouncing a little bit, but we have kind of broken down on the daily. We're stuck in between the 50-day and the 200-day. So if we get below this 200-day and we get rejected by it, then that is a definite downtrend in the dollar, and we're likely to kind of continue coming down, and that's what we want to see for our risk assets. We don't want to see the dollar kind of coming back up. If it comes up, regains the 15-day here, and the 200-day starts curling up, that's actually able to kind of just continue to keep going up. It would be in an uptrend. We do see on the low, or on the kind of daily, that they are in the more oversold category here. So we expect a bounce, but we want to see that bounce sell off, similar to right here on that lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. So continued lower highs is what we want to see on our dollar here. We take a look kind of at the lower time frame, then we do see, yeah, it looks a little bit worse, or looks a little bit better in terms of a breakdown. So yeah, just want to see that continued breakdown, something like this, following that path. Taking a look at our US 10-year, coming down a little bit, which is good. Yeah, so also what we want to see the 10-year coming down. We want to see the dollar coming down. We want to see kind of our risk on assets performing well. We see Bitcoin breaking 90,000 right now. TLT kind of just consolidating in through through here. It's right at that 50-day moving average, but it has crossed below the 200-day, so we want to watch that, make sure that we're gaining these as support. We flip over to gold real quick, take a look here. It is coming right into this resistance here on the daily. It is a decent setup for our momentum indicators. We're holding this VRVP profile right through here, so kind of just in resistance slash support again. If we take a look at our 1 hour time frame to try and get a better idea here, we see pretty good setup in terms of our momentum indicators. Bullish cross on the MACD, bullish cross on the RSI, and that DMI line starting to curl up. We did see right through here resistance, 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 acted as support kind of right through here, is now currently resistance, but we're putting in that lower high, lower low structure. So if we see gold continuing to break down, that's another signal that our risk assets might do a little bit better in the near term. Alternatively, if we see gold start to break out, that's a kind of a signal that risk off is kind of going to do better. There's a little bit more uncertainty, worry in the market. So we'll flip over to crypto again. I'm not going to take a look at too much. So we looked at Bitcoin. We're going to look at Bitcoin dominance and see what's going on here. We see kind of oversold coming back up, curling there. Yeah, so Bitcoin dominance finding support right through here. This is that kind of bull flag structure. So we'll see what happens. We'll pull our parallel channel here just to give you a more visual representation right there. So we take our channel right through here, something like that is what we're looking at. So we did we're consolidating in this channel, and now we just see what happens here. We want to see that continued breakdown on the higher time frame. So we'll flip to our daily. You know, the 1 hour looks okay, but right here, this is that lower high, lower low, lower high. So let's see that continued breakdown, and hopefully, ideally, we break below our 50-day, 200-day moving average, and then that's going to be more indicative of that macro downtrend. But we do see that it's kind of neutral setup here in terms of the momentum indicator. So we'll see what happens. Flipping over to Ethereum. Coming down here, nice little setup, bullish cross here, and it looks like our DMI is going to support this move here on the daily. We're stuck right here under this kind of volume profile right through here, so this gap right in here. We have our 50-day and our 200-day moving averages stacked here on top of us, so that's kind of what I'm worried about. If we get rejected by these 50-day, 200-day, then we might be due to come back to test these lower levels. So what I want to see for Ethereum, I want to break out of this down sloping trend line right here, and I want to also hold the 50-day and 200-day moving average as support. So if we can do something like this, and then we might be able to go up, attack our highs, and hopefully take out those highs, put in new ones. We want to see that alt season everyone's hoping for. But looking at this, you know, there is quite a bit of resistance that Ethereum needs to break through. We have this horizontal resistance, we've got our moving averages stacked, we've got this downsloping resistance, we've got this resistance here through the VRVP. So Ethereum needs to do a lot of work to really kind of push itself to get to those highs and break out. We'll see if it can do it. Flipping to the 4 hour, see if we can get another little closer idea of what's going on. So still room for it to run a little bit on the 4 hour. We'll see if it can probably get into this resistance zone ideally, and continue just chopping here. On the low time frame, it is in that uptrend structure, but we want to make sure that that's translating to at least the daily chart before we get too aggressive, because we do recognize that it could just get rejected and retest these lower levels pretty easily. So waiting for that confirmation again. Flipping to Bitcoin here, so just consolidating right through here, kind of interesting pattern. We'll take a look, we'll pull our trend lines here, excuse me. So trend line right through there, and trend line right through here. So just looking at Ethereum, still in that bear flag, holding that higher low, higher high structure, but nothing too convincing here. Decent setup on the momentum indicators, but not amazing. Still stuck in this little gap here, so we want to continue to see that strength from Ethereum, Bitcoin, and especially if we want to see that alt season that everyone wants, everyone's expecting. Flipping to total 3, also we're just stuck kind of consolidating in this range, so just right through here, not really actionable in my opinion. You guys know my thoughts. Wait for the breakout, back test, higher low before taking any position, making sure we do see that our momentum indicators kind of support that further break up. So we want to see those higher highs, higher lows, and then we can start to look at more positions in terms of total 3. Taking a look at others dominance, also just putting in a little bit of work on the low time frame, but same thing as the other ones, guys. Just just stuck in these ranges. So we just aren't getting too aggressive. You know my thoughts. Wait for confirmation. You know, not getting caught on the wrong side of the trend. We do have multiple resistance kind of stacked up here, so we'll see how it can do. We're not going to get too, I don't want to get too far into a bunch of these altcoins. I don't trade altcoins or crypto on the weekend generally because of the lack of liquidity. I'm going to take a look at is one I do want to look at just as a swing trade potential. So we're looking at this kind of just lagging today. It has been a pretty big outperformer for the most part in terms of kind of the recent price action. So we saw this little breakout of the bull flag. We came back, we retested higher low, higher high, higher low. So I'm looking to enter here. I'm just going to put my stop loss rate about here. I'm going to put my stop loss rate here. I think about $7.14 would be somewhere you could put your stop loss. If you want to be more conservative, right below this support is going to be better. So this is when I showed you that long position tool. We're going to take our long position, pull our stop loss. We're looking here at about up to a 7% stop loss. And then we're going to use our Fibonacci extension tool. So I'm going to show you this new tool. I haven't really showed you it before, I don't think, and we'll get into it more in depth in some of my educational videos, but we're going to look at the trend-based Fibonacci extension tool. So if we look from this swing low to this swing high to this current swing low, and then we see our 1.618 Fibonacci as a potential target. So I'm looking at a, entering here, looking at riding it up to about $11.50, moving our stop loss conservatively here, right here, just below. So we see, looking at this, we're just underneath a bunch of support, making sure that we're not going to get wicked out here. So there was a little bit of support through here, and there is this support through here. So watching that, if we break below this, we risk that structure. Otherwise, we're just holding that trade there. So is one. It's a swing trade. It's slightly higher risk. I kind of do like the chart a bit more than some of the others. That being said, if Bitcoin or the stock market just reverse and breaks down, nothing's really going to be safe, and that's why I've got this stop loss here, protecting that position at a 10% loss. But we have the potential to reach up to 50% gains if that Fibonacci extension plays out. So just something that we're watching. We'll take a look. I'll take a look at a few other ones just that we were watching. So Solana came down here. We did point this one out. It didn't quite come back to our entry, unfortunately. That does happen sometimes, but currently off. We'll see how it reacts on these support levels here. We can still take our Fibonacci retracement tool and see if we look for a decent entry. If price comes back here, you might be looking right there at that 618. That's the original entry that we were hoping for in terms of Solana. Flipping over to Doge here, kind of also just breaking out. It was able to get above this trend line again, which is nice. Kind of putting in that higher high, higher low structure on the low time frame, holding that 200-day moving average, bouncing from our horizontal support that we marked here. So we do see looking pretty good in terms of Doge, but we want to see it continue that structure, break this, hold, and it's also getting above here. So watch that. We're going to watch Doge. Maybe there's an entry right over there, but we're going to continue. We want to see that strength from Ethereum and Bitcoin as well as others' dominance. We'll take a look at Binance actually. So Binance, another one coming into the 50-day. So let's watch Binance here. If it's showing a lot of relative strength, so we have that higher low, higher high. So if we get this higher low here, another higher high and a higher low there, that could be an entry right there in Binance, and then riding that one further up. So we'll watch that. We'll keep looking down. I don't want to show you guys too much. I'm just showing you kind of the price action. So right here, SUI, it does look to be rejecting kind of on the lower high, so we're waiting. So lower high, lower low. Yeah, not really too interested in it right now. We want to be sure that we're getting that structure, that bullish price action structure. Right here, Litecoin looking good, still holding the higher highs, just holding those higher highs barely. So holding the support zone here, and yeah, we want to see that continue up. If we get one more kind of push up and higher low, that's really good confirmation, and we could take a position there and continue riding that one up. Looking at Pepe, Yeah, kind of just breaking back up into this consolidation here. So just getting back above resistance. So nothing really crazy going on. We'll take a look at a few more. Look at Ondo, another one that I like for RWA. Came down to our support zone here, bouncing, holding this right now, and just consolidating. But yeah, not looking too crazy. So look at Tau. Tau's another one. Looked really interesting. Huge breakout here. So let's watch for that entry right there that I kind of drew. If we come back, maybe we tag the 50-day. So we stack the 50-day, the 200-day. We've got the VRVP supporting this. We've got a volume uptick, and we're a little bit oversold on our momentum indicators here. That's why I think we're due for a little bit of a correction. So I'm going to pull the low time frame Fibonacci, give you guys an idea of what we might be looking for an entry. So from the swing low to the swing high, we see the 0.5 Fibonacci right here at the 50-day. So I might look to start a position in Tau. This would be a swing position to start, but looking at building it kind of right through here from about 420, 425 down to about $380, and then that's just coinciding with, so we come back and look at this confluence of support right through there. That's what I'm trying to take advantage of, and we've got that uptrend structure, so higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. We're in that trade and we ride that trend to the upside. So kind of just my thoughts. We'll take a look at AIOZ as well. I did have a member in my Telegram group just asking about it, so a big volume uptick right there. But we're just stuck, as kind of, you guys know my idea, stuck in a range. We want to see that kind of more of an actual breakout, bounce, confirmation, and continued uptrend. So our AIOZ still has more work to do, in my opinion. I'll take a look at FET. So Fetch AI, another one I've been talking about, was in that horizontal support, consolidating, looking pretty good. We did break out here. So yeah, we want to see that continued higher high, higher low, higher high, and then we can look to enter Fetch and ride that trend as well. Other than that, not too much going on. We will see what happens when the stock market opens, or has opened now. So we have the S&P, yeah, that bearish candle right there on the 4-hour, and looks to be like we're rejecting here, so showing more weakness. Yeah, I think we have more consolidating to do. That's why I always say wait for confirmation, let the entries come to you, be patient, and then execute it when the time comes. So if you learned something new, if you like the content, please like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.